Hello, good morning, and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied hands, Quindy, Justin, and John, although it's mostly Quindy these days because we've been abandoned. But let's not get a complex about it. Hello, everyone. There's not many everyone's in chat yet. There we go with Arrowiz. Woo! Making us feel better with the resub at tier 1 for 29 months. You're almost to 30. Nice. Nice. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hello, hello. It's my Friday. Just as a reminder, everybody, I will not be on tomorrow or Monday as we have a con in this area that I am committed to helping with. So, and teaching at, and judging competition at, and stuff like that. So, I will not be on. I have to, my camera is crooked. Oh no! There we go. Much better. Haha. Much, much better. But yes. It was fun. It was good, Iffy. It was good. I mean, we got more dragon. We did some dragon belly. So the dragon has partially a belly, but it's way over there in the corner on my little platform, so I'm not going to go over and get it yet. But yeah, it was good. All right, speaking of other giant models that take forever to paint, hello there, Pirate Girl, Angelica. I do want to get the beige mapped in again. Luckily, I kept my formulation. But I think I have to dig up my gnawed bone, and I hope I have it around here somewhere. There it is. Yay! I did take notes on what I used for my cream base because I used purple to build it. And I wanted to replicate that for the feather. I always want to, if something's the same color, I want to use the same colors to replicate it. So if we can get the rest of this blocked in, then I feel like I'm going to feel a lot more motivated. Even though I've got a ton of wool to do, wool texture, I'm going to feel a lot more motivated to get this sucker on the road and finished. Yeah, so we got to block in a lot of cream colored stuff today, and I got to figure out how much of this feather I want to make red. And we kind of talked about that last time we worked on this as far as color composition, how much I want to do. The red definitely improves her, so I'm happy about that. Will you be able to do it tomorrow? Because I won't be on. That'll be time for anybody to catch up on the anniversary stream if they wanted to. All right, so I need my russet brown, my ever-loved russet brown. If I can, yeah, there we go. Knew I had a bottle of it hanging out. Ta-da! And I have to organize my convention stuff today. Let's see here. Then we need Styx purple. Oh, nope, not Night Sky Indigo. Styx purple, please. Yes, Styx purple. Which is a lovely dark purple. It's not as bright as Monarch. It's a little bluer than Monarch also. But it's good for this sort of thing where you're toning out another color. Let's see here. And then we've got our gnawed bone. So great. Awesome. Fantastic. I am going to get in focus here at a higher level. There we go. Alrighty. Once I've got all the rest of this white blocked in, the cream is going to be white. Then we can start seriously working on it, and I definitely want to do that, so that's on the list. We do have more gold to do as well. We did the epaulette here, and it turned out pretty well. I need to put some white highlights on it to really pick it out, but I figured I would get all the rest of the gold done and then do all of that in one push. Just a little more handy. So, all right, let's see here. So first of all, it's a 3-to-1. With Styx and russet brown, and then gnawed bone. So let's do that. Let's do 2 drops of this. Uh-oh. Need pokey tool. Hello, Koronico. 34 months till the triple, and 2 months till the triple self-anniversary. Yes. Indeedy. Hey, Babel. Yeah, triple. triple sub. There are some people who have gotten triple sub-anniversaries. It's pretty insane. Come on, Poketool. Don't fail me now. Poketool's just like, nope, not working today. You should have taken today off too. There we go. Oh, dearie. There we go. Yay. So any plans for the holiday weekend if you're in the USA, y'all? So I'm going to do 3 drops of russet. 1 drop of sticks. Work. Oh no, Ziffy. Yeah, to be fair, I normally, like, you know, in past Memorial Days, I have had the Monday off, but, you know, I've worked a lot over the remaining weekends. Oh, we're going to go see the Doctor Strange movie. Cool. Recover from vacation. Oh, nice. Wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary, Raymond Day. I'm going to pop 1 drop of water in there, and I'm going to see if I need a little bit more gnawed bone. And I probably will for my base. Yeah, it's a good shadow color, so I'm going to keep it around. I'm going to put 1 drop over there. I did use a little bit of shield brown in this, but I'm going to see if I can mix close without that. I think I can. Then I did use the more purpley color to shade this. I don't know if I will do that up top. I may just block this in because I want the red up. I want the red up on the feather, and I don't necessarily want the red to clash with the purple tones. So, and it absolutely will, because the red is brighter and it's red, and then purple, which is right next to it on the color wheel, this purple is very faded and muted out. So if I do that, then that's going to clash like crazy. So instead, I'm going to go for this more neutral tone. It still has purple in it, but there's enough yellow to have kind of overwhelmed that purple. And that's probably almost certainly a better call for the feather, where I'm going to have red right up next to it. So remember, if you're being clever and like shading with complementary colors, which is essentially what shading cream with purple is, that purple still counts as a color in there, and if you add things that are on the color wheel or brighter or both next to it, it'll have a high chance to clash. Not good. Ah. I all over the place. You're funny. Oh, mixed reviews. It guess, you know, this is with movies, it's always interesting, right? Oh, I forgot there's a hat band in here, guys. Oh my god. We probably need to make that hat band like red and gold also. Oh well. Anyway, let's work on this first. It's interesting, right? Because like sometimes some people go into a movie and if there's a plot hole, they can still enjoy it. And some people go into a movie and if there's a plot hole, it really annoys them, right? It's a very personal thing. So it really depends on how stringent, how much that annoys you, if there is one. For me, it depends on the type of movie. Like, I can still enjoy some movies, even though there are plot holes or they're a little bit campy. Like Tomb Raider is one of my all-time favorites. Certainly not a perfect movie. Great soundtrack, though. But like if it's like more like a thriller or a mystery type genre, then I'm really like, then I get very annoyed if there's a plot hole, because for those to make sense, I feel like you can't cheat. But yeah, I think it's a very personal thing whether that sort of thing really trips you up, or if you can still watch the movie and enjoy it. Yeah, I was gonna say, Cursed, if they... I saw the preview for that movie, and it looked like they were shattering the universe and the timeline, which, you know, comic books really love to do. I've never been a fan of that myself, because I do like continuity in a storyline, but it is definitely an in-genre thing for comic books. So yeah. You didn't start mentally ripping it apart till a day later. Yeah, fair, fair. I'm going to make yet another lighter color here. I think I went straight up to Nod Bone at the end, so I will just do that with just a tiny touch maybe of my previous color. I'm going to do a fair amount of wet blending to set the feathers up. Which means probably I could go to a super, super big brush for this. I do want to add a little more water. For my starting coat, I don't want to get too thin, because if I'm going to wet blend and I want it to cover, I can't go too thin with my initial colors. But Nod Bone has pretty good coverage, so I feel like I can do it at a 2:1 and still be okay. If you do it thinner, then your zenith's just going to show through, which isn't a crisis by any means. Yeah, comics do tend to have a fair amount of plot holes. One might think that they shatter their timelines in self-defense. It's like, oh, we really screwed this up. Let's just shatter the timeline. But you know, it is definitely a trope in comics. So the shattered timeline, the reset reality, enemies are friends, friends are enemies. You know, it's that kind of thing. They like to play with that sort of thing. David was telling me about the great Spider-Man debacle with the copyright, the IP ownership. How only Sony can make Spider-Man movies, and Marvel doesn't have the right to Spider-Man. But they made a deal to allow Spider-Man in some Marvel movies and to allow some Marvel heroes in a Spider-Man movie. But that otherwise, like, there's this funky copyright rule. So doing just a little bit of getting in some of these darker colors in here, I'm going to get, boom, closer. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a geek out thing, right? Yeah, you've used up your away time, say the doggles. You have to sit and scruffle us now. Yeah, that's totally a thing, Mist Imp, right? There's a lot of recurring villains. And that's okay every once in a while. Like, you know, having one of those in a D&D setting is actually pretty cool, because it's hard to engineer a good recurring villain in D&D sometimes. Considering how easily the player characters can get lucky with dice rolls, you kind of have to Deus Ex Machina it, and that doesn't feel good. But so I kind of like recurring villains in D&D, just because it's building toward a final confrontation kind of thing. But yeah, in comic books it tends to be like it's over and over. So doing a little bit of bringing in some of these feather clumps, but the thing is that these are really over exaggerated, these big quills, so I'm like not really sold on them. And I'm gonna kind of fuzz them out toward the ends, I think. I'll keep some of these deep creases in further, but I don't want to have really deep shadows as it comes out toward the edges, where the feather's probably fluffier if it's a big plumy feather. Yeah, I mean, you could just make those spells a thing again, right, Dabber? I mean, it's like contingency can be a spell. The players just don't have access to it. Or maybe that's, you know, maybe they want to have access to it, and that's why they're chasing the villain in the first place. But yeah. It's just a difficult thing. Well, and sometimes, you know, if your party is really just dungeon maulers, they don't care enough about plot to care about a recurring villain. But I find a good recurring villain to be really interesting for D&D if you can manage it. It's just sometimes it's hard to manage without railroading. All right, so I'm going to bring in the shadow color here down this line. We can see how the zenith has given us this dark line right down inside of here. So we're going to keep that. We're going to keep it on the other side too. So we're following the zenith for the most part on this feather, though it's all white on this side. So I'll have to bring this up a lot. And I'm going to paint the whole feather cream, and then I'm going to go back in with the red and figure out where I want the red. Because once you put that red down, getting cream to like vanish it is going to be harder. So I want to make sure my cream is all set up and then tentatively start bringing in my red. She kind of likes Santa Claus. Yeah, it's a cool way to do it. Like if you have like kind of a spirit or a ghost thing that inhabits various shells, and that's one way to do it for sure. And then then your challenge becomes figuring out how to kill it permanently, right? Which that's a cool mechanic. I like that a lot. As I get more out into the light, I'm going to lighten up this cream. I actually should do a 50-50 with Nod Bone and Pure White at this point to make a real off-white, because this is really not an off-white. This is a cream, and I want to go up fairly close to white. You could use either bleached linen or Pure White for this. Morning, Daffodweir. Talking about comic book plot holes and recurring villains is our topics so far. And for those who did not hear, my puppy probability has gone up to 99%, as there were lots of puppies seen on ultrasound yesterday. We talked a little bit about this at the start of yesterday's stream. But yes, so we are pretty much getting a puppy. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, this con for me is less fun and more responsibilities, so I'm getting to the point where I am with Gen Con, where I don't want to go to a con and work it anymore. Like, I just want to go to a con and enjoy it. Like, I feel like I put in my time working at conventions and doing all the stuff, and, you know, I just want to, like, kind of go to a con and relax. Like, Adepticon was perfect this year, where I had no responsibilities. I taught 0 classes, and I just hung out and painted and, you know, got interviewed twice and went up and saw pretty models and, you know. That was pretty much perfect. I think after you've worked at a con for, you run through different, at least I've run through different stages in my con development, where at first it was a novelty to work at the cons and I really loved it. And then it was like I'd gotten so much in the habit of working at cons that I felt weird when I wasn't working at a con. And now I've finally progressed to my final form, which is like I can go to a con and just enjoy myself and not have to work at it. And I feel perfectly happy. In fact, I prefer it. So it's been upgraded from a puppy watch to a puppy warning. I think that's how David feels. He's excited because I'm excited, but he's like, oh no, his puppy. He's like, he's not excited at the thought of the puppy. Like because puppies are work, right? Puppies disrupt your environment. You have to puppy-proof your house. Puppies will chew things, you know, things like that. So, you know, he's kind of like, he's never, ever, ever experienced a puppy before. So I'm trying to like kind of, you know, train him. You know, it's like, okay, so we have to have a lot of puppy toys to redirect the puppy in every room of the house so that if the puppy starts to play or chew on something it shouldn't, we can direct it to an appropriate toy. And he's like, I don't want to chew on anything. I'm like, no, you just have to pay attention. So yes, I'm trying to instruct David in the finer arts of puppy wrangling so we don't have any problems. Buy him some chainmail and band-aids. It depends. Some Shiloh puppies are really sharks. Like, you go through the land shark phase for sure. But, I mean, I've never had a pup where I honestly had, like, scars on my arms and stuff. Like, never. And we've raised 4 Shilohs. Like, I've raised 4 Shiloh puppies. And one of them was a devil. And I still, like, I don't know. It just, redirecting to a toy is just a no-brainer for me. I just always have one in my pocket. And, like, whenever I'm interacting with the puppy, it's with the toy when they get to that mouthy age. Because their mouths are hurting and they're trying to, like, chew on everything to make the hurt go away. And I get it. So it's just being prepared. Being prepared and knowing going in. So David's going to have to learn the hard way. I'm trying to set him up for success, guys. But if there are like holes chewed in my David, I guess I'll just have to buy him some chainmail, as you say, Miss Stimp. But we'll see. I mean, I keep telling him, the puppy is a baby. The puppy is going to make mistakes. You have to teach the puppy what you want it to do. They don't come knowing what to do. He's like, no, I'm really happy we didn't have kids, right? I'm like, yeah, just imagine having to put up with this for like 18 years. Given your kids don't chew on you. Oh, yeah. Well, because they can play with each other with their mouths, right, Miss Stimps? So trying to teach them that you can't play with your humans with your mouths, but you can play with each other with your mouths. And that's the problem, is consistency. Like, it's much easier if everybody in the house is on the same page about it. But when you've got 2 babies, pretty chewy children. Again, the redirect, man. Kids are probably easier to redirect because at that age they can't move nearly as well as a puppy. Their physical coordination is not as high as a puppy at the same age. So there we go. So you see, I'm lightening up significantly toward the end. I'm lightening toward the outer fringe. And I'm mostly just kind of doing a little bit of loose layering, a little bit of wet blending. I'm not trying to have smooth blends at all. If I want to, I can always glaze afterward to get it a little smoother, but we're just trying to set it up, get it in a good place, and then I can go back in with my red. And the underside of this is going to be a lot darker because it's in shadow, as you can see, since we got all black primer all the time down here. So here, I'm going to go in with my shadow color, and I'm just going to block it in. And that's the Russet Brown Sticks Purple. Has just a little bit of the Nod Bone in it to give it a little more coverage and body and color over the black. You can see how good coverage Russet Brown is, though. The fact that it's like covering over the black and, you know, decently, and it's not being pulled darker. Yeah, exactly. You have to strategically place stuff, right? Tooth marks in your painting desk. That's weird for a cat. I've never had a cat do that. But you definitely have cats with personality. But yeah, hopefully we don't get a terribly chewy puppy, but we'll see. We might. Luckily, I've had enough different dogs that I'm like, well, I like know the gamut of toys we should have in the house, you know, because we don't know. You never know when you get a dog if they're gonna like chewing soft things or hard things. Like, I find there's a definite like texture preference from dog to dog. Like, Thorny liked to chew like rubber things and really hard stuff, but Leo liked soft things. So, or softer things anyway. With Leo, we just went through a lot of rope toys. But Thorny had one of those rubber tires, and he just would chew chunks out of that sucker. That was insane. That dog was super chewer. My girls weren't that chewy. They liked bones. Bones and antlers. So we'll see. The new puppy will be a new person. New dog person. We'll see what she likes. It's exciting to be able to, like, buy puppy toys again, though. Yeah, sometimes, as long as your older dog has got a way to get away from the puppy when he needs some away time. Puppies can be pretty relentless sometimes. All right, I'm going to bring in a little bit of lighter color in here toward the edges again, because the edges of the feather are going to be a little bit thinner, I'm imagining. And I'll do a little wet blending in here. Just fast wet blending. We don't need to put a lot of effort into the underside, but you need to put enough effort in to show that you actually did paint it. So I'm just going to blend in some of this. Metal. Wow, yeah. That's pretty metal. That was a pretty metal dog. Yeah, that dog must have had titanium teeth. We never had that. Although Thorn is an old dog now, but he likes chewing on ice cubes. Like really big ones, like the ball-shaped ice cubes that you put in drinks, like for like rocks glasses. He'll just take those suckers and just crunch them. That's his favorite. All right, I'm going to grab actually a darker color now. I want to put just a little bit more shadow down in here. I think I'm going to grab brown liner for that. There are places I want, now that I have the edges a little lighter, I want some areas a little darker. I still need to blend a bit. So if I don't want to, essentially, if you don't want to highlight up more on the underside of a thing, you can shade down more if you've preserved some, some wiggle room that way. Obviously, if you're painting the underside near black, then you're not going to be able to really do that as well. But since I went dark, but not crazy dark with these, because they are a lighter colored feather, I'm able to go down a little bit more. So we'll grab some brown liner and do that. Yeah, I'm super excited to get some cool puppy toys for my puppy. Just super excited. I don't know what we're going to do for ReaperCon though, guys. This is looking worse and worse for ReaperCon for me. I should probably drop Ron a note that I have a big question mark about ReaperCon. Because at this point, we're going to be getting this baby puppy, and ReaperCon will be 2 weeks later. I don't know about 10-week-old puppy at ReaperCon. I'm still like, kind of like, especially because I'm going to be driving the puppy back from Fargo, which is a 2 to 3 day drive. And then 2 weeks later, am I driving the puppy to Texas? Yeah, damp face cloths tied in knots in the freezer. Yes, I use ropes. Just dip them in water and put them in the freezer in a bag. Yes, you have to keep, yeah, exactly. What if this puppy goes through a lot of toys? I'm going to need stream money. Stream money for puppy support. Right? They do go through, when they're chewing, they do go through a lot of toys. But the nice thing, though, about this whole gig, about me being able to stream for Reaper and do my Patreon and do my own YouTube and my own Twitch, is that I have a lot of time to train the puppy, right? I don't have to go to a job for 8 hours a day. I can take periodic breaks throughout the day to interact with and train the puppy and give her my full attention. So that's like, this is super. Like, I've never been in this situation before, except maybe like when we got our first puppy when I was a little kid. You know, we got Fergie like at the start of the summer. So we actually did have time over the whole summer to spend a lot of time with him. But yeah. Oh, I'll probably be doing some videos for our dog club. We've got a YouTube that is totally neglected right now, cursed. And since I'm actually learning that I really like YouTube, because I like producing video content and teaching that way, I'll probably do a series on my new puppy. Just kind of tips, because I've raised four other Shilohs at this point, so doing a video with some tips at each week. Would probably be cool. So a little bit of a darker stripe down there. If I do that, I'll let you guys know, because I know you don't care about the training tips, but you'll care about the puppy. You'll want to see the puppy. So the puppy in action. We'll see if she's a puppy who like hates the camera or loves the camera. Like, they're definitely puppies who hate the camera. Like Leo hated the camera. Blazy liked the camera, though. As long as there was a Frisbee in my hand, Blazy would be fine with the camera. Yes, you will want to see the puppy. I know. Well, there's going to be a puppy cam for sure. Because I've reserved this corner, and I can definitely, once I figure out how I'm going to split it, I can definitely put a camera right off the end of my desk here for the puppy. So there'll be puppy cam. Worry not. Worry not. We'll get on that. I'll talk to my tech support, i.e. John. Or Justin. Probably John. John said it was easy. So I'll just message him and get the skinny. So just a little bit of a drop shadow here where one feather crosses over another as well. All right, so just down the spine here, I want a little bit of a darker. Oh, yeah, powered USB splitter. Good, yeah. Yeah, because I've got 3 USBs on this, but all of them are in use because of all the equipment for streaming. So, you know, between my mic, my face cam, and my document cam, like, I'm out of ports. So, doing a little bit of bringing this in, and again, bringing in a bit of water to kind of blend that out with. So yeah, just because it's on the underside doesn't mean you don't paint it. It does mean you don't have to work quite as hard to paint it. Plug and play. Nice. Hold on, I'll make a note. Powered USB splitter. I'll look it up. That way we can have puppy cam. Puppy cam. This is the day. Doggy Mini is in order. So I'll have to paint Cerberus then. Because David still wants to name our new puppy Cerberus. Even though Cerberus was a guy. He doesn't care. He wants to call her Siri for short. And of course, Siri being one of my favorite Witcher characters. I'm up for that. But it would be just very funny to have a dog named Cerberus. So that seems to be like... And we are kind of playing the opposite end of the whole bad names spectrum, because like usually when you name a dog Lucky, the dog is anything but, and when you name a dog Killer, the dog is the friendliest dog in the world. So hey, maybe if we name our dog Cerberus, she'll be the easiest puppy. A problem with iPhones? What about? But yeah, so if our puppy is named Cerberus, then obviously I have to paint the Cerberus mini. First cat hubris, and she lived up to it, huh? Don't tell me that. All right, so just a little wet blend here to kind of like be blending in these edges. Going back and forth between my middle, my base coat dark and my brown liner. Just to get a little extra. And you can be real rough with this. I mean, you have to stay kind of roughly in the lines. Like you got, you want to hit things that are very clearly defined, but your blending does not need to be perfect on this. It's the underside, right? So I'm going to bring these out a little bit more. Except that I don't use Siri at all, as in, like, that's the thing. David and I actually talked about this exact thing yesterday. He's like, but what about the phone? And I'm like, I don't use Siri. Do you even use Siri? He's like, no, I never use Siri. I'm like, well, then it's not a thing. Like, I call my phone Googs. I don't call it Siri because I never have the voice activation even on. I've always got it turned off. It's annoying. It's annoying to me. So yeah, in our household, it will not. Like, other people on the street will just confuse our puppy. It's like, why are they saying my name, Mama? But I never hear like people talking to their Siri phone in public, to be honest. Like I can maybe count on one hand and maybe two fingers the amount of time. Yeah, that's true. I mean, hubris is a common trait in cats, and being a hellish puppy is actually not a common trait in Shilohs. They're kind of one of the easiest, as far as like housebreaking and general training, they're one of the easiest breeds. The downside for Shilohs is just you've got to, because it's a herding breed and because it's a shepherd breed, you've got to get that socialization in. You've got to get them out into the world, or your dog has a chance to be shy, because herding breeds are just sensitive. And they're a little bit more of an investment as far as their time for socialization. It's, as I put it, socialization for this breed is not optional. You've got to put the time in. If you put the time in, you're going to have a dog that's going to be wonderful everywhere. But you got to put the time in. True of most dogs, to be fair. But I find that herding breeds especially are generally more sensitive. Having grown up with both pointers and Shelties, and hung out with a lot of shepherd type breeds, as well as like Labradors and Retrievers. So there we go. So this one I'm bringing up a little bit more. I'm going to bring a little bit up toward the tip, because as the tip of the feather gets thinner, transmitted light will come through it. So you'll actually have less of a shadow here. And back here where all three are overlapping is where you're going to get the darkest. Yeah, Loki's a pretty common name for cats, I think. My brother named his cat Loki as well. Right, as Ed, right. Yeah, Loki is Loki definitely a popular name. We're going Greek because my kennel name, although I haven't been active, I haven't had a litter for 10 years, but I've kept it up. My kennel name is Sparta Shilohs, which is actually pretty funny because the Mountain View high school mascot is the Spartan. So I moved to the right town. People are going to think that's why I took the name. But yeah, I try to, so Greek mythology and Greek history So I'm actually going to sit down with my name book, because being a writer, I have a naming book, and look at some of the Greek female names to see if there's anything other than Cerberus that I can talk David into. All right, so let's see here. So mostly dark down here then. Let's actually shade pretty heavily down here. Because like I said, where the feathers are all three crossing over, that's going to be where you get your darkest shadow. And then every time they kind of peek out, where it's just one layer of feather, you're going to get a lot more lights. So this is going to be my darkest feather right here. So think a little bit about that when you've got overlapping surfaces and they're something like a feather where the light is definitely going to pass through. But then it'd be very, very confusing iffy, because I'd be saying iffy and my puppy would be looking up during streams. That would not work. So we'll see. It has to be good. There has to be a good shorter form of it that we'll see. I'm going to just go looking. Go looking and see. I know there are some good Greek names out there that I really like, so... But we have to agree. David and I have to agree on the name. So he did bend enough to say, well, you should look for other Greek names. Maybe there are other Greek names. He was trying to think of female characters from Hades, because that's why he wants to name our puppy Cerberus, is not because of Greek mythology. It's after Cerberus in the Hades video game, who is the cutest three-headed, horror doggy ever. That's because you have very smart cats, Coriniko. So I shouldn't say his name and make the brush dance around. That would probably make him even more engaged. Then I'd be playing with your cat virtually, and that would be kind of funny. Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to make a list. I told David we're going to make a list, and then we're going to essentially make the names fight each other until all but two of them are kicked off the island. I'm going to just take a little bit of a highlight here. I want to bring out, I don't want to really highlight it, but I want to bring out the central quill. Yes, I know. It's the best Cerberus ever, Esther Jean. I love that Cerberus. I would come in to watch David playing Hades, and I would make him pet Cerberus. I'd be like, go pet Cerberus. He looks lonely. I loved it. I especially loved the end with the family party that happens eventually. I'm not going to spoiler it for you guys because it's funny. Though probably all of you who are going to play Hades have played Hades. But it's just adorable. So yeah, that's why we want to name our dog Cerberus, is because of Hades Cerberus. There we go. Again, lightening up these. I went a little bit too far with that one, I think. We'll see. I need to bring in more of a mid-tone on this one first. You always stop to pet Cerberus. Of course! So would I! Oh. Yeah. Chase is a good name. All right, I need to thin this paint a little bit more. I'm fighting with the underside of this quill because it's kind of a little, like some of it is sculpted a lot deeper than other parts, you know. Sometimes you just run into something that's like, and I mean, it's the underside, so it's not like I want to spend a lot of time down here. But I do need to actually get it to a point that I'm happy with. So yeah, for those who came in later in the stream, just a reminder, I will not be on tomorrow. We have our local convention, KublaCon, and David and I are going to be involved heavily with that. So I will not be here Friday, and I will not be here on Monday. We will resume Tuesday after Memorial Day. I have to figure out a mini to replace our hair folks, so I have to spend some time over the weekend figuring out what I want to paint next. There we go. Just a little bit more at the edges. It's pretty good. And then the other side. I'm being persnickety, but you know what I should do? I need to get online. There are sculptors we haven't painted anything from. I don't think we've done a Weeby, and I don't think we've done a Andy Peeper. And so I need to get on the Reaper site and make sure we represent. Sculptor equality. Because this is Jean. This is a Jean sculpt. And we've done lots of Bobby and Julie sculpts. So mostly because I love painting animal people and Julie does the best ones. But yes. Yeah, this con's been it's a pretty long running con. Hopefully the painting competition goes well this year. There's been some angst about it in the past, so I'm hoping that with me being involved in the community, and I'm going to make myself available just like at ReaperCon to give people feedback after the judging. So I'm hoping that'll help. I don't think there was a lot of that in previous years, but I find that it does really help people understand like the process of the judging and gives them, you know, kind of feedback on where they are. And they may or may not agree, but all right, so I'm going to hit this area because there's a little bit of light coming through up here. I'm going to leave that darker. I'm going to bring up this outer one quite a bit. So you can see now, this what I'm painting here is called transmitted light. So, although this one's technically should be in shadow, but I needed some contrast there. Transmitted light is when an object is translucent and light will pass through it. So the edges of wings on birds count this way, like butterfly wings would count this way. Anything that's really, even hair is somewhat translucent, and you will see transmitted light. In miniatures, it's really hard to paint this because everything is, of course, not transparent. So you don't get that natural effect. It's always in shadow. But at least this way, if somebody picks up the model and looks underneath it, they will actually see that it is highlighted appropriately. So it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's the Apple Computers approach. Maybe that's what I'm doing here. But part of me really wants this to look nice, even though it's the underside. So nice, Thormel, yeah. Chaos Toads, huh? Yeah, I'll go look online. Obviously I have to want to paint it. but I will try to find something from both of them that that I really like. So a little extra highlighting here toward the edges with light, really light color, because again, transmitted light. The edges here are going to be a little lighter. That I can bring these edges up more than this edge so that there will be contrast and it will be more evident that these edges are lighter than that. Gonna be a beautiful day here today. Really looking forward to my walk. It's supposed to be 78 and sunny today. Glorious day. Was 93 yesterday, which is pretty darn hot for this area. Definitely getting close to summer. Alrighty, I'm going to take my lightest color and put in just a little bit at the very edges of the tips of the feathers. So those would be the thinnest, floofiest parts. Yeah, Andy's sculpted a lot of dogs for Dark Sword. Because he enjoys sculpting dogs. He sculpted our Leo. It's our commemorative Leo figure. "78 degrees is beautiful weather. Here, there's no humidity. Like, it's very low humidity where I am, which is it's just a gorgeous, comfortable temperature. Unless, of course, you prefer your degrees in the 60s, then, you know. But for me, this is like, I love to go outside in this weather. So I like the hot. I even liked the hot yesterday. When I took my walk, it was 86. Felt like Texas, except less humid. Win! All right, a little bit of light here on this feather from there. There, that looks good. And then we'll get this one right here. It needs its tips lightened. Yeah, my favorite is probably like if it's like 75 to 78 when I go for my walk, I can wear a tank top and not need, because I get cold really easily. So I just love it when I don't feel at all cold and it's a gorgeous, beautiful day. I am a weird heat-seeking Anne. I'm probably the only person in the Bay Area who's happy when it hits 85, though. It's actually kind of nice. I hate to say this, but it's kind of nice not to have AC. Like in Texas, the AC was everywhere, and I was always like wearing a flannel in June. Because if I went indoors, I felt like I needed like additional clothing because it's so cold. The AC is so cold in some places. We're almost done with the underside of this feather. Then we can work on top side. And maybe it's weird that I worked on the underside before I worked on the top side, but that gets this out of the way. Like, the underside is kind of like the, well, we've got to paint this, but it's not fun and nobody's going to see it. So getting this out of the way, and then moving to the top side of the feather where we can do colors and have a little bit more fun with it. I believe in painting the things I'm not as thrilled about first and just kind of putting them behind me. War Shadow with the trumped warmth. That's good. That's hot. Yeah, I get cold a lot. That's why I love this climate. Although it is cold in the winter here. There was a lot of, like, when we were going down to the city in the winter for theatrical productions, that I was just kind of freezy. All right, just going to bring up the edges here just a little bit more so we get more of this kind of luminous effect that we're getting on this side. Yes. Yep, AC. Exactly. That's why I bring like a flannel. Usually I bring a flannel because then I can just, take it off when I'm going outside at ReaperCon. Alrighty, so a little bit of that, pick up that highlight. Oh yeah, Southern Valley, California. Yeah, I like where I am. And they say that this is one of the nicest climates in the world, and they don't lie. The Bay Area, the South Bay area, not the proper San Francisco, but the South Bay area definitely has unfairly stolen a lot of the good weather, in my opinion. All right, so a little bit picking up the quill there, but because there's a deep shadow here, I don't want to do it there. Same as over here, I have a deep shadow there, deep shadow there. Picking that up, a little bit more to pick up around the edges here, and we'll be good. So yeah, I mean, when you do paint the underside of something that will be somewhat visible, do a little bit. Do a little bit. This way, when I'm turning the model, I can see that I've painted the edges of those feathers and they look good. So if somebody's looking at the model from that angle, from this side, they will be able to see those feathers and they'll see that I put the work in. So yeah. I think that's good. Excellent. But you don't have to make it perfect, and unless of course you're going for like super perfect, like some competition where technical merit is like absolutely top notch, everything like Golden Demon, then you better make sure your undersides are painted just as well as your top sides. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of a shadow where these two connect. I'm going to start up with that. Yeah, I always had problems from going in and out of AC, also Carrie Michael. Not migraines, but just like allergies and crazy stuff. Oh, good, Karniko. Yay. Yes, things opening up and coming back is good. Sure, everybody is relieved that things are slowly opening up again. The con this weekend has masks, and I'm like less thrilled, but get it because we are having a surge, so. I'm just know that my throat's going to be shot teaching through a mask, because you always feel, as a teacher, you always feel like you have to project extra because you're trying to project through the mask. I had such a sore throat at ReaperCon last year. Like, I started losing my voice after the first day instead of the third day. Usually after the award ceremony, I'm shot. I'm done. All right, so get a little bit of shadow in there so you can separate the feathers. You don't need a lot, just lining, really. And I might want to block in some darks along the areas we can see the black is more so because it's a little bit away from the light. So I'm going to bring in some of my browns. I might knock a lot of this stuff out, like I might pull it up as we paint, but I'll start out with a shadow there so I can remind myself that my zenith said that it was a little bit darker. And that was just the angle of my primer, so I may decide to kind of like not use that quite as much because this is an upper surface, so we'll see. You can make that call. I mean, your zenith is there, but you can choose to like downplay parts of it if you want, as long as you're consistent with how you're doing it. If you're not consistent, then it's just confusing. Yeah, that's good. That's good, Dogfather. That seems to be the whole thing, right? Is like, at least people are still getting it, but they're not getting like terribly, terribly ill. So that's good. I'm glad it didn't hit you too hard. So bringing up little bits here. Quadrivaxed. I'm assuming that David having it and coughing in my face like directly boosted me. So I'm just not. I'm not boosterifying again. I am boosted once. I'm good. I'm good. Alrighty. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the painting competition this weekend. That's probably the part I'm looking forward to the most, is judging. Hope we get some good entries. David is actually not entering this year, so everybody should run in and take advantage of that because he's gotten best in show like something ridiculous, like the last 5 out of 6 years or something. It's just ridiculous. So I'm like, you really have to not compete, sweetie. You really have to give other people a chance to win this. So he's just judging this year. And I'm undecided whether I want to enter my little halfling assassin or not. I'm going to get a little bit of a shadow in here again, close to the quill, because I want this to stand out, even if I bring it up a little bit as I paint. 20 minutes, woohoo! Yeah. You've been sicker from con crud? Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, at this point, I'm kind of wondering if it'll just be kind of like the flu from here on out, where you get your shot every year. Let's bring in this. up a little and doing, again, a lot of wet blending. When I'm painting over texture, be it fur or feathers, I tend to use a lot of wet blends on the top of the surface. Just ignoring the texture entirely, just painting it in a mass, and then going back in to bring it up and bring out details. And it's just a little bit of a faster way to get things covered with a basic transition. And obviously the wet blend's a little bit more difficult with acrylics compared to oils. Although I don't know that I really buy that, because oils have their own challenges with wet blending. And I should know, because I've been working with my oils every night to get back into the groove with them. They have their own idiosyncrasies. Oh yeah, flu absolutely can still be nasty. No question there. Though I've never gotten a flu shot. David was horrified when he found that out. Until he experienced my immune system, and then he's like, I guess. I probably should still get one. Yeah. There we are. So some really deep grooves over here can be challenging to figure out how to paint them. And really I'm just putting a light border just over the top. There'd be some natural shadows. Because busts are big, you do get some natural shadows. Like, they will cast a natural shadow because it's a larger scale. So like, you will get the natural shadows under the chin and everywhere else, you know, and under the eyes, where you don't get that effect at 28 millimeter because the detail is so shallow on 28 that you just don't. But here, there's a natural shadow being cast under the cheekbone and under the nose and under the chin and the eye sockets and everything. You're even getting a line of shadow from the overhang on this headband. And that's just something you don't get at 28. And so when you hear somebody talk about how 28s you need to overemphasize your highlights and shadows because they're too small to cast a natural shadow, that's what they're talking about, is all the detail is so shallow that in a normally lighted environment, you just won't see those shadows. You have to paint them in. Whereas something like a bust at this scale, definitely it can cast its own shadows. You don't want to overemphasize your shadows as much when you're painting a bust because it tends to look cartoony and weird and not natural. So if you're going for that, then definitely do, like for comic book style. But if you're trying to just paint it and you'd like it like not to look over exaggerated, you can go a lot more subtle with your shadows on something like a bust. You don't have to go as deep. Yeah, that's why I keep thinking I should go get one Shadow Raven, but I haven't been sick in like 7 years, so my immune system is really, really good. But, you know, I probably should anyway. It would probably make David happier if I did, so I'll do it for that reason. All right, so getting that, but need a little bit more. I need to put this on and see what the angles are like. Always test fit. Like when you're painting in a vacuum, it's easy to forget things like that. The feathers really like dive down here. And that means that this part is going to be darker this vertical part is going to be darker than the part up top. And I've kind of got it in reverse right now, so I need to fix that a bit. So first I'll get this side because I didn't get it before. And I can do everything consistently. Yay, consistency. Really looking forward to my 4-day weekend, guys. Should be a good time. Hopefully see some painter friends. Now I want to go a little darker as we go down on the feather, and I'll block it. I'll buff out a lot of those lines that I've got going on there. Just a normal weekend for you. Bummer, Quindy. Well, you have Monday off from like riding herd on my stream. Are the other Reaper streams canceled? Who else is on Monday? It's Rhonda, right? Is Rhonda taking Memorial Day off? I'm sorry, Iffy. All right, so just a little bit of just darkening as I go down here, and then I'm really making it dive right here, which is fun because dramatic changes can be really fun to paint on a model. So I feel like that is reading better already. I actually have one of those, like, long pointy masks, the Plague Doctor ones, although it's more fanciful than that. But it doesn't cover my mouth, so I'd still have to wear a regular mask. Yeah, it's Memorial Day weekend. The other bracket to summer for us, Shadow Raven. That's why I've got time off. That's why I will not be, again, for people who came in late, I will not be streaming tomorrow. And I will not be streaming Monday. Monday because of the Memorial Day holiday here in the States, and also because, and this is why Friday is canceled, is because we have our local con coming up that David and I are involved in. So, I really like having some sort of connector, Bob and Julie. Do I have another bust? Yeah, here. So I kind of like, because the thing is that I like to have some elevation on the bust. And it's nice when there's something graceful that that works with it. And she's got here. I've already got it glued in. So like on this lady, she's got a kind of cool curving piece. And so this piece is meant to be put on the wooden plinth. Oop, her quiver decided to, like, it's only blue tacked on. So then this would sit on top of the plinth like this. But it gives her some elevation above the plinth, so she's just not stuck flat to a piece of wood. So I really like having that sort of thing. And I think from my experience, most people do. The little round plinth here that's integral is also a nice touch. I feel like, especially because she does have a flat base, it could be like a little more elegant. Like it's I think better when it's worked into the shape of the thing. Artistically, that's just my aesthetic preference. But having something to hold the model slightly off of any wooden plinth that you put it on is, I think, preferable. The elf bust there was is one that we're painting for one of my paint-alongs in Patreon, patreon.com/paintingbig. She's, of course, the big child Caledriel archer. She's got a bow and an arrow as well. So we're going to start on her skin tones this month, by the end of the month. Yeah, you do really have a long-lived monarch for sure. It's pretty amazing what all the things that she has seen in her lifetime, by the way. The queen. If you think about it. Pretty darn amazing. I remember the dragon bust. And the neck kind of, it just went down. It had, I don't remember I'd have to go dig mine out. I don't remember exactly how it connected. Did it just have a little stem on the bottom? Right. I'm going to bring up the ends here, even though it is down low, because it'll be a little more transparent. I'm trying to think. I have a couple of examples. So the paladin that I'm painting with the NMM with the lion shoulder pad, she's just got a very simple stick. And this is almost a little bit too thin, but I like that it's simple and I can just paint it black and I can just glue it or pin it down on a plinth, and, I can also trim it to size. Noli came with something more like this, which is nice because it holds her up, but I also don't necessarily personally don't care for the fact that I'm being forced into this particular shape, which I feel like this generic shape doesn't fit Noli very well. So I would rather have had separate pieces where I had just maybe this top part and not the bottom part, where I could just put this onto a plinth that fit Noli better. That's why I like hers, because it's so simple, but it's also got a very elegant curve to it that fits her dynamically and it fits her motion. So, and it's simple, so I can attach it to anything and it'll go kind of invisible, but it's still cooler than just a straight peg like this. And it's thick enough too that I feel like it's not going to break easily. So that's kind of talk about connectors on bus. Everybody's going to have their personal preference on this one. I feel like my preference may not be others. Oh, it went into a dent on the plinth. Yeah, but then I'd have yet another hobby, Kuro. And I don't know if 3D printing is it for me. I don't know if that's my next hobby. I mean, it may be time for me to go back to canvas now that I'm back into oil paints. That may have to be the resurgence of an old hobby for me. actual canvas painting. So I'm just bringing in a little bit of highlight here. I'm going to bring up more. See, I like when the rod is included, Pendrake, because we don't have brass rod here. I don't want to whip out the tool set. I'm not thrilled with it. I just want a ready-made piece of something, of resin that's going to be provided for me. I don't have anything on hand for that. And I don't want to mess around with cutting acrylic, and I don't want to mess around with cutting brass. So for me, that's not actually a plus. That's why I say it's a very personal thing, I think, when you come down to it. Some people like the craftiness of just cutting their own and just having the recessed hole. But others of us just want it really something simple, but that suits the model. That's not too obtrusive. That's why I think that Big Child bust pretty much satisfies all my requirements, where it's not just a simple peg. It's thick enough. It adds dynamic motion to the model, that the model, it reinforces the motion the model already has. And it was provided for me, so I don't have to do anything other than clean it and put it on a base. Yeah, and I don't have time, Max. Yes, it is a pain to drill. Right, exactly. Exactly, Quindy. Yes, Quindy 100%. 100% Quindy. Quindy is 100% correct. Nope, this peg just goes flat. Like, I will flatten out the bottom. I will put a pin in it, and I will pin it to the base. And that plus whatever glue I use is enough, in my experience. As long as I've got a pin in there, it'll stay on. Since I'm not gaming with the model, it doesn't have to be super durable. It depends on how heavy the bust is, though, also. But I feel like this one had a peg into the bottom of the base. So up here, it's very solid. And then, yeah, for the bottom, it's a little wider. So I feel like I've got enough of a footprint. If I really wanted to, I could putty maybe a little bit something extra. But if I put like 1 or 2 pins in here, I feel like it's going to be solid. That's a thick enough piece of resin. It's not just going to snap. Plus with busts, since they're display, you're not really abusing them. Yes. Yes, you can do that. Absolutely, Quindy. Yes, Quindy LaRue, 100%. Hashtag 100%. Right. Yeah, see, that's just it. I just do like a tiny piece of brass rod, like my pinning rod. I just do that. It's enough. It just needs to hold the model on there, give it a little extra strength for traveling if I'm bringing it to a show. And otherwise, it's just going to sit in our happy case with other happy minis. So it doesn't have to be a lot. So bringing up some light here. Need to remember to drop that off, though. I think I went a little bit too far. Now notice I'm not really reinforcing a lot of how deep these grooves are. I'm actually putting like highlights in between. I actually prefer my feather texture to be a little bit less coarse than this, a little finer. I think that I find these quills to be a little bit too thick, so that's why I'm putting lines in between them as well to kind of break up the surface and make it not look like these big chunks. It looks a lot finer here. It's actually sculpted exactly the same. I'm just painting it different. So that's an example of what you can do with paint, people. Like, you can either emphasize a big chunky texture or you can totally de-emphasize it. It's just in the way you paint it. Yeah, I just feel like the 3D printers, like, I've got friends with them. If I really, really, really would like a mini, I'm pretty sure I could get somebody to print one for me. And I would happily pay them for their time, because time is my biggest resource. Like, it's my most valuable resource. It's my most finite resource. Like, I would rather pay money and not have to put in the time, because time is so precious to me. And I've got so many other things that I love to do with it. There, so bringing up the edges here a little bit more. I'm going to grab my lightest color and really bring up the outer fringe of that. Oh, time check. Well, we can still go for a few more minutes. But at least we got a lot of these, a lot of the feather set up. Didn't get to the red, but I was happy I got to the point where I could show you guys how putting extra texture in. It's the difference between this and this. Between your big chunky lines here and something that looks so much softer here is just putting extra lines and not bringing the shadows as dark too. Keeping your shadows lighter so that you're not emphasizing the sculpted texture. You're de-emphasizing it by bringing in highlights in between the quills. And that's what gives you that. Oh, I'm going to bring this in pretty dark down the middle here. And then I'll bring it back up. But I didn't quite get all the primer on this side, so I want to hit it with a bit of a darker shadow here and the other side too. Wherever I missed some primer, I definitely want to correct that. Yeah, there are enough people out there who are willing to do pretty resin prints for me, so for money, so I'll hold off for now. I'm happy enough right now just experimenting with my little oil paints. They're like, it's a whole different beast. It's a very different paint beast. It's fun to work with them though. Like I find I get into it, like I'll sit down for an hour at the end of my night while David is like doing a WoW dungeon or something, and I'll just work on my oil paint and it'll, like, that hour will just fly by. Oh yeah, have a good weekend, Shadow Raven. Enjoy your tacos. Yum, yum. Let's see, that's decent. You held out for a long time and then you got a deal. Oh no, the deal, the dreaded deal. Hello and goodbye, Steph and Mac. We're about to end the stream, so. Yeah, if you did your research and you knew what you were getting into, then you're cool with it, Max Styles, for sure. I also did my research and decided, yeah, not the hobby I need right now. Painting is the extra hobby for you? Yeah. Bring in a little more shadow here next to the hat. Just trying to make sure I'm covering up all my primer at this point. I need to get in and do the quill down the middle here. So now we're starting to emphasize more of a shadow down here and start to bring this up more, and I need to get this quill. And then we can call it. Hey, Roger, thank you. 21 months. Thanks for the resub. Congrats. That's a long time. Yeah, I have that regrettable tendency as well, Valendar. Turning all of my hobbies into businesses. Although to be fair, the writing was always meant to be a business, so it's really just at that point turning my business into a hobby and back again. Depending on how serious I was treating it. All right, so we got our quill covered there. Looks like I've got all my primer covered up for the most part. Pretty good, pretty good. So that's coming along, and we've got that, and I've got, oh, I got this little tail. I forgot the tail. No, it's all about the tail. Here we go. Yeah, we need to call it shortly, but just at least block this in. I hate to forget parts. There we are. But yeah, David may yeah, I mean if you're enjoying it, then awesome. Yeah, that's the thing that stops David and I right now. He may decide to follow through and get a 3D printer eventually, but I took one look at the time investment and I was just like, and then every time he like kind of brings it up, I'm like, are we ready for one of us to sacrifice part of our hobby time for doing all that cleaning and prep work? And he's like, But I could see him like getting, if we got one, I could see David getting into the cleaning and prep work. Like I could see him enjoying that aspect of it. So, because he really enjoys the prep work on working on minis. So that might be a thing. Then we might do it. There we go. A little bit locked in. Sweet. All right. Well, we didn't get the lace, but we at least got the feathers set up, and we will bring them up later as we get back into them. But at least we've blocked them in, and we've gotten the undersides all painted, so that's nice. So cool. So slowly, we only have a little bit of primer left. Only a little bit of primer left showing. We're definitely at the part of the model where I want to see that primer disappear. Yeah, you think you're ready. That's with the puppy with me. That's true. Yeah, I don't mind going a little bit late. Because we did have to cut off for Luca. Correct. But I only lost about 10 minutes yesterday, I think, so. There was just the puppy, the disruptive puppy news, that's all. Get a little bit of this blocked in. The puppy news totally derailed me yesterday. It was so distracting. But yeah. We'll block in a little bit of our lace. Here I can just kind of run my brush gently over the surface. I don't need to... I'll get a little bit of bubbles there, but I can blow them off there, or they'll pop naturally as the paint starts to dry. There. So that's actually super easy. When you're painting the lace, you just need to run your brush over it. Like have your paint on your brush. Don't have a lot of paint on your brush, but you can just use the side of your brush to do this. And sometimes you'll see bubbles cover up those holes, but don't worry. As they start to dry, they will pop, or you can just blow on them to pop them if you're paranoid, just to make sure. But this is the very easy way to get stuff like this base coated when it is raised up like this and sculpted where it stands out. It's very, very simple. See, I've got a bubble there, but it's going to pop as it dries. See? Yes, very important puppy news. Now we have to wait till the end of June. Like, I did not expect, like, I thought the waiting was hard on this part. Like, I did not expect, now that we know the puppies are coming, I did not expect the waiting to get worse. Like, I thought it would be better because you wouldn't be in suspense about whether there's going to be a puppy. But now that I know the puppies are coming, I just want to see the puppies. I want the puppies to arrive already. But I still have to figure out how I'm going to get to and from Fargo, so I suppose I shouldn't be rushing it along. I need to book an airplane ticket. Probably book an airplane ticket out and take a rental car back is probably the answer. It's going to be pretty brutal with gas prices, but still probably cheaper than the flights nowadays. Or it'll be about the same cost. But I need to cut down on my road tripping time if I actually am going to do ReaperCon, because that would be road tripping with the puppy. This puppy is going to get a lot of car time. Alrighty. So I brought in a little bit of shadow there just to brush over the top real thin, just to give it a little bit more dark depth. Oh, 8 puppies. Yeah, that's probably about what our puppy mommy is going to end up with once we get the x-ray. Hey, 8 is not a big litter. The biggest Shiloh litter, the biggest litter in our breed, mommy, has been 14. Insane. Yeah. Flying a puppy is generally I've done it, Pendrake, but this is going to be the end of summer, and when you're in deep winter and end of summer, there are actually prohibitions on flying animals in very hot and very cold weather. So in late August, we can pretty much guarantee that those are going to be in effect. And so flying the puppy would be really fraught with peril. You would have to do a super early flight, and even then, sometimes they get canceled. Because it has to be below a certain temperature or above a certain temperature, below in the summer and above in the winter, to safely fly a puppy. So essentially, I'm much more comfortable. Plus, I get the extra bonding time because David's already told me he's going to steal my puppy by spoiling it. So I need this extra bonding time with the puppy on the road trip. So yeah, so that's why I'd rather. And actually, all of Bridget's puppy people from her last litter did the same thing. They flew in and then they rented a car and drove the puppy home. So, Siberians have about 5 or 6. Oh, wow. So that is a big litter for a Siberian. Yeah. Usually the bigger the dog, the bigger the litter. But we don't know. We don't have an account on Bridget. I'm kind of hoping that for her sanity, it is not a litter of 13. All right. I think we're doing good. Yeah. We did have one person guess 10 puppies yesterday. Carrie Michael guessed 10 puppies. For my litter. For my puppy's litter, I should say. All right, just getting a little bit up on the border here. I can come in and line this later, and I probably will before I do the wool. But getting it mostly covered. That did really well. The side of the brush technique did really well for getting on this side. And now, just by taking a little extra time since we had to call it early yesterday, here we are. We are fully base coated. Yay! We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. We are getting there. Yeah. Yes. Have a great weekend, everybody. I will see you again on Tuesday. I'm going to enjoy my long slacker convention weekend. And yeah, I'll miss y'all. But I hope that whatever you are doing and wherever you are in the world, you have a very, very wonderful weekend. And some excellent weather, whatever that means where you are. Yes. Yes, and 2 p.m. Josh Foreman, Crafty Creative. And then is Reaper live tonight? Yeah. All right, cool. See y'all Tuesday. Bye.